Ethan Skolnick here, 305 Live. A little bit different today. This is more 205 Live. I'm here with Alejandro Villegas. He's actually usually our producer of this, but we tried to throw this together pretty quickly today. I just came from Miami Heat press conference with Jimmy Butler, the introduction to Jimmy Butler at American Airlines Arena. I had to scramble a little bit. We'll have a podcast 5 on the floor a little bit later today with Alex Toledo and likely Alphonse Sidney. But again, just came from the press conference. Alejandro and I are going to go over a little bit of this. But before we do, we've got a contest today, okay? This is the important thing, more important than anything else we say. Seltzer Mayberg, one of our great sponsors. We actually share an office with them in North Miami. And again, you can check them out. We have their Chiron, you'll see here on the screen. They're giving away through us a Jimmy Butler jersey. This is the size and color of your choice. Here's all you have to do. Between now, whenever it is you see this, and noon on Saturday, so this is between now and noon on Saturday, you have to text the number 89800. That's 89800. I'll make sure I get that right. I'm not looking at it. I'm remembering it. And so text there, and they have to have at least 100 entries. I don't think we're going to have any problem with that. And whoever the winner is going to get that jersey. You can get it through us and through them. There are some terms and conditions that apply, but they're not major. Don't worry about them. I'm not going to read them all off. There's no fine print. You're going to get a Jimmy Butler jersey. It's going to look just like Jimmy Butler, number 22, that Pat Riley gave Jimmy Butler today. So Seltzer Mayberg, 89800. Text that number. When you see this, we want you to obviously watch more 305 Lives. We're going to do these regularly. But anyway, Alejandro, I'm going to let you be like the interviewer today.
Yes. And you stop. Let me interview you right now.
That's it.
And also, I want to remind our listeners that you can buy the Jimmy Canastas shirt also at the 5reasonsports.com website in case you don't win the Jimmy Butler jersey. But okay, let's go. What happened today besides having Jimmy Butler finally after a couple of months trying to pin both Butler and Pat Riley here in Miami at the same time? We finally got the opportunity to listen from Jimmy Butler's mouth what he thinks and what were the reasons why he came to Miami. So what did he say today? What were the main quotes from today's press conference?
Well, there was one that I know got the most attention because when I tweeted it out, it's already at about 1,200 likes. And this is what Heat fans want to hear because this is one of the reasons they wanted Jimmy Butler. It's not just about Jimmy Butler, the basketball player. Although Pat Riley said today that he considers him a top 10 player in the league, which I don't know necessarily that everybody does. I mean, ESPN has him at 21, and I think Sports Illustrated had him at 11. But he's pretty damn close. But
Riley had to say that, right?
Well, of course. Well, yeah, and look, Pat also said Luol Deng was one of the greatest signings in history. It's turned out okay for half a season. But look, Jimmy's close. I mean, it's not totally crazy to put him up there somewhere close. Sorry, I'm facing the wrong direction. I'm trying to get the phone.
No, you're good. Keep going.
All right, but basically, the quote from the day from Jimmy, because this is why people wanted him down here and why I think, and Alphonse and I have hit on this quite a bit, what appeals to the Heat is what scares off other organizations. The Heat-like attitude. They want someone to call everybody else out in practice. They like the whole, Pat Riley wanted his marketing strategy in New York to be a chalk outline. That's what the Heat are about. That's their culture. And Pat gave if you go to my Twitter feed at Ethan J. Skolnick, I tweeted out a video where Pat addressed my question about that and basically said, that they want to be, sort of the, back to being the hardest working, most feared, most disliked organization around. But what Butler said today that I think got Heat fans most excited was, we want everybody to hate the Miami Heat again. And that's a place that Heat fans are comfortable because that's where you were from 2010 until 2014, when it was sort of universally disliked outside of Miami and almost unreasonably disliked because that was one of the nicest group of guys I've ever covered by far and the smartest room I've ever covered. I mean, Shane Battier walked by me today, okay? James Jones, Chris Bosh, this was an extraordinarily intelligent room that they had. Ray Allen, and a bunch of really nice guys too. But everybody hated the Heat anyway because they hate Miami, right? They wanted the Hurricanes program to be disbanded, Alejandro, right?
Yes.
The Dolphins tanking. Other teams have tanked, but suddenly they need to change the rules. But the Heat thrive off of that. It's like Eddie House told me when the Big Three came together, middle fingers to the haters. And Jimmy Butler embraced that today. And I think that's what this organization has needed, other than talent, which Jimmy brings, is they needed an alpha. They need somebody to be the face of it. And they need someone, and I asked Jimmy about this today. It's been very interesting to me, the players that Jimmy has embraced this offseason.
Tyler Hero.
Working out with Tyler Hero, who he says he loves because he talks a lot of shit back to. Justice Winslow, one of the young faces of the franchise, sending Bam Adebayo, a message on his birthday. It's the young guys. And I think the whole thing that Jimmy's trying to do is he's trying to show, look, I'm going to take you under my wing and I'm going to help bring out sort of the edge in your personalities like I have in mine. And so I think, and this is why we did the 5-part series on 5 on the Floor, talking to writers who've covered Jimmy in the 3 places he's been. I think the things that scared Minnesota, that Philadelphia didn't necessarily like, Brett Brown didn't get along with him. They had a lot of issues at practice. Even in Chicago, it soured, right? There were issues there too. But the Heat love that stuff. They love the getting in your face. And Jimmy brought it today. And honestly, I've covered a lot of these, okay? I covered when Eddie Jones was introduced, when Brian Grant was introduced, when any of their rookies, Michael Beasley, all down the line. Okay, obviously LeBron and Dwayne and Chris Bosh. I think Jimmy Butler had the best press conference I've ever seen a new player have.
Why?
Because he hit on every note that the fans want to hear from him. And he addressed his personality in a way that I think was the only way to address it, which is he says, I don't really think I'm an asshole. But then he kind of gave you some of the characteristics that made you think, which is why people think he might.
And maybe he is or maybe he's not. But and then
right,
and then you guys asked Pat Riley about it. What did Pat Riley say?
Well, Pat told I asked Pat. Pat likes it. This is look. Again, Alonzo Mourning came to Miami with a reputation of being an asshole.
Yes.
Like that was a big part of it. If you look at the first couple of years with Zoe in Miami, for all the great charity work that he ended up doing, and he's a pillar of this community. But like when he came, like the big issue was he couldn't go 3 days without a technical. Okay. Yes. And he pissed a lot of people off in Charlotte with the way he left. LeBron pissed a lot of people off in Cleveland the way he left. Chris Bosh, nicest, smartest NBA player I've ever covered, pissed a lot of people off in Toronto with the way he left. Tim Hardaway, didn't leave on great terms in Golden State. Jamal Mashburn didn't leave on great terms in Dallas. This is what, even Goran Dragic. Goran Dragic is, you've covered Goran. Like, you can't be nicer than Goran.
Yeah.
They were angry at him in Phoenix for the way that he left. The Heat organization has brought in these guys who may not be so popular somewhere else anymore, but they will be popular here. And I thought Jimmy, even the things he talked about why he likes some of the young players and what he wants to bring to the organization. Alejandro, I am not a big proponent of this hashtag Heat culture garbage.
I know. But he embraces that concept. Besides,
he does. He
besides the whatever you want to call it, the way they do things here.
Right. Well, here's the reason I think that it works for him a little bit. Heat culture works when you have talent with it. Heat culture, getting, playing Rodney McGruder 30 minutes because he hustles, is not, to me, that's not.
It's not going to win championships. Let's put it that way.
Right. Okay. Now, is this team going to win a championship? No. But I think what they've done is they found the perfect guy to lead the way back. And now you're starting to see, Alejandro, there's, the Bradley Beal stuff. Like I keep saying, like, GM came out and said this is about getting better, not necessarily about wins this year.
Okay, but okay, let me stop you right there.
Dude, Alejandro. I don't think he's gonna stay there.
Yeah, forever. Because and you asked Jimmy Butler, you told him, hey, you're turning 30. He's not a young star, so he needs to win in the next 2-3 years, maybe. So what's the next move for the Miami Heat?
Well, I think that, look, obviously they're going to monitor the situation in Washington. I think they're going to monitor the situation in Detroit with Blake Griffin. I think if you look at where those two franchises are right now, Detroit is trying to be competitive this year. They brought in Derrick Rose. They are going to try to, move themselves up towards maybe a 5 or 6 seed in the Eastern Conference. If that doesn't work, they could look to move Blake. I think another guy you could look at is, and we've talked about this some a little bit on the pod, Masai Ujiri is a guy who doesn't wait, okay? And I think you could see a situation where Kyle Lowry becomes available maybe before he's a free agent. Now, he's not a whale, but obviously that would change the dynamic a little bit. But really it's about Beal. It's about watching the situation in Washington because they're going to be really bad and almost intentionally so, like not Dolphins intentionally so, but they're in a rebuilding situation. And, he seems like a really loyal, good guy. But everybody's got a breaking point. And that building is going to be empty. Those are not great NBA fans to begin with. That's one of the places where I always went on the road, where there were more Heat fans than there were, fans of the home team. And Alejandro, I just see a scenario where, if they're 20-42, well, let's go before that, because before the trade deadline, if they're 13-30, right, and it's clear he's not signing that extension. If you're Washington, why wouldn't you try to get something for him now? So I do think that that's in play. And I don't think that the Heat are going to, just like the Jimmy Butler situation, where it was like, oh, you're going to have to give up so much to get him. They ended up giving up virtually nothing. I like Josh Richardson. Obviously, it's a first-round pick, but they were also able to package Whiteside out of here, get rid of that contract, get more flexible. It was a much better deal than they had a few months earlier. I think the same could be true of Bradley Beal.
Okay, now let's talk about what we have here right now. Butler talked a lot about Hero, but we know he'll probably not be the starter at that point. We have a new version of the Dion Waiters situation, so we might see the best version of him. What's the lineup? What do you think is going to work for this team in order to win more games than last year?
Well, I think they're going to win more games than last year. I don't think there's any question. To me, when I look at, what was the problem the last couple of years, which I talked about a lot, it wasn't just the lack of top end talent, which they had. It was the fact that they had so many players at the same talent level and playing the same position. And I thought it made it impossible for Eric Spoelstra to coach this team. When you had 6 2 guards, 5 of which were small, and nobody was elite, because Dwayne wasn't elite, and nobody was close to elite like Jimmy is. There was just not a lot of things that Eric could do, to sort of put the best product on the floor, but also keep everybody happy. And he had to deal with a Hassan Whiteside situation where he had to play a guy he didn't want to play when they wanted to give Bam more minutes, because they had to try to get his value up, and they didn't want him to pout and infect the locker room. And so they were playing a guy that they knew didn't fit into their future plans. There's none of that this year. The only 2 guys you really would look at are Dion or JJ, and both of those guys have looked like they're in great shape. I mean, Dion tonight, and I'm not a big Dion Waiters, booster sometimes, but he looks like he listened, like he got himself in shape, and that's the first part. And if the ankle is right, he gives this team something they don't really have from some other guys. He can get off the dribble to the basket. Now, I know Christian Hernandez had this incredible stat about how little he got to the line. I think that can change if he's in shape and he feels good. And so they have a lot of options. They've got an uncluttered roster. They've got everybody healthy coming into camp except Kelly Olynyk, and he should be back sometime during the middle of camp, Pat said today. I just think if you give Spoelstra an uncluttered roster with guys who want to defend and are motivated, and Alejandro, go through the list. They're all motivated. Jimmy is motivated because he's basically been dumped now by 2 organizations. Now, one of them he wanted to be dumped by, Minnesota, but he's been basically dumped by 2 organizations recently, okay? You've got Winslow, who's motivated. Clearly, he wants to prove he can be a point guard, and Pat did address that today and joked about it. You've got Dragic, who's motivated. He's in the last year of his contract.
Okay, what was the joke?
Well, the joke was he said that the Justice got fined, I think, something like $5,000 for saying he wanted to be the point guard, and that they gave the job to Dragic.
Okay,
I think the other thing he said though was just true, is that we make too much about who the point guard is, right? Like, I don't know that it necessarily matters who is called the point guard. It's ball handlers. And Jimmy kind of addressed that in that way too.
He said it too. What's a point guard nowadays?
Right. And look, I do look, Goran is not a natural point guard. Like, never has been, right? He more creates for himself, just the way he plays, than for other people. Bam Adebayo is motivated. He got cut from that team at USA Basketball, and now he's going to be a full-time starter. Tyler Herro comes into the league motivated. JJ and Dion have 2 years left in the contract now. They're playing for another deal, maybe one last deal for James Johnson. For Dion, he's always motivated when he's content and healthy. And so you look at this whole group, and they all have a reason to sort of be out there. And I have not felt that has necessarily been the case the past couple of years. A lot of those guys got paid. They were early stage in their contracts. And I just think it was an impossible job for Eric. And then you bring Dwayne back, which was the best thing that could have happened. But also the whole damn season was about Dwayne and not about any of these other guys. And now that has changed. So my general consensus off of today is, like, just looking at Pat smiling, and he was sitting in the corner talking with Andy and Adam Simon. They just look like they are back on track. Mm-hmm. And I thought they got way off track in 16 and 17. I wrote it. I said it. I haven't backed down from
Too
it.
many bad contracts.
Too many bad contracts because Pat got, he got sentimental about a group, particularly after the Big Three thing broke up.
The 30
And
and
he wanted
11
to
hat.
prove that guys wanted to be here. Yeah. So with you watching it, because I was,
Yeah.
obviously a different perspective up there. What stuck out to you today from the stuff that Jimmy said?
Well, I like the way that he talked about his teammates. He said, "There's a lot of people here that are trying to beat me in the gym early in the morning and late at night. The culture, even though you don't like that term, the way they do things here, I think he feels like he's at home. Finally, he's
Mhm.
at an organization that he can work and he can tell everybody. Like I remember him saying like, okay, I can tell anybody here anything and they don't take it personally because
Mhm.
we're just trying to push each other to the next level, you know. And I think that's probably something, and I know the Heat had it with Udonis Haslem, but at the end of the day, you know, Haslem's not gonna be there playing with you on the court. So if you have the superstar right by you pushing you and you can talk back to him like Hero is doing or whatever of the guys is doing, I think that's important to build like a good atmosphere, like a winning atmosphere in that locker room. So I think that's a positive. Obviously, if the team starts winning, that's gonna work. If they start
Mhm.
losing, those type of comments trying to push each other maybe are gonna be taken in the wrong way. So
Mhm.
we gotta wait until the season develops and see how that all that chemistry works on the court, which that's the main thing. But for now, I think I like what I'm seeing from Jimmy Butler, and I think we all had that concept of him being an asshole or whatever because of this things he did that I didn't agree with him, like not showing up to practice or whatever with the T Wolves. But now I understand his point. Like he said, I love this game so much and I work for it to be the best so much, and I don't understand why the other people are not doing the same. So
Mhm.
and I agree
And,
with
and,
that.
and
He's trying to be the best.
right, and I think the reason I think Heat fans, and there was a lot of talk of Dwayne today, and I think the reason that Heat fans have to feel good about this is because I don't believe that Dwayne Wade would have either steered Jimmy to Miami or steered
Mhm.
Miami to Jimmy unless he was absolutely 100% confident that it would be a fit. I just think, for all the talk of Riley, and we can go back and forth about who was most instrumental in 2010 about putting that team together, whether it was Pat or whether it was Dwayne. But the reality is, like, this means something to Dwayne. And if he thought that Jimmy was going to be corrosive to the culture here, again, I'm using that word again, he would not have pushed for it. He
You
would
have
not
to
have pushed
find the
for it.
synonym then if you don't want to use
I'm gonna, yeah,
that word.
for the environment, for the the
Yes,
atmosphere.
the Heat
If
environment.
right, if he had to, if he felt that that was going to be a problem, there's no way that he would have put this thing together. And that was the deciding thing here was Dwayne. And Jimmy talked about it today. He doesn't want to feel like he's replacing Dwayne. He can't replace Dwayne.
Nobody
But
can.
I No one can. But I think also for a while we kind of worried about whether anybody could replace LeBron. I mean, when you have the best player in the world in his prime,
Mhm.
and he has the kind of season he had in 2012, 2013, which to me was a top 5 NBA season in history. Like, it's very easy for fans to get spoiled. Like, how are you going to replace that? It's like Marino in 84. How are somebody else going to live up to that? But I think what's happened now is having 5 years kind of in the wilderness here a little bit, with the exception of 15, 16, where they were a game from the Eastern Finals, but nobody thought they were winning a championship, even if Bosh was healthy. I think being in the wilderness a little bit and being irrelevant as they've been for the past couple of years, I think will make Heat fans appreciate Jimmy Butler in a way that they wouldn't have if, say, Jimmy Butler came a year or two after LeBron. It's been long enough now that I think having a player who is not LeBron, it's like if LeBron does everything at a 9.5 level out of 10, Jimmy does it all at like a 7.5 to an 8. But he does all of it. He defends. Now, he may defend better than LeBron did when he got here because LeBron kind of stopped defending the second year. But he defends. He passes at a high level, not at a LeBron level. He's not as good of a long range shooter as LeBron became. He's not as good a finisher. So I'm going to keep saying not as good, not as good, not as good because we're talking about one of the top 2 players in NBA history. But he's pretty damn good at all of it. Like, there's no weakness in Jimmy Butler's game other than the 3-point shooting. And as he's not high volume, so it doesn't hurt you all that much. But I just think we're at the point now where Heat fans, can embrace him as a player because he's better than anything they've had. And again, all respect to Dwayne, but even Dwayne in 15, 16, Jimmy's a better player than Dwayne was then. So they can embrace him as a player, but I think as a person, he is the embodiment. Let's not call it Heat culture, but of Heat attitude. He's the
Okay.
embodiment of that. Okay. He wants people to dislike this team. And I think Heat fans miss that. They miss that on Twitter. They miss that in the arena. They miss this idea that everybody is out to get them. It's what they feed upon. And I honestly thought, I'm not one to usually say this, and sometimes winning the press conference doesn't mean anything. I just really think this was a very good day for the Heat. And the first one, in my view, of this magnitude in a long time. It felt like he belonged here. It felt like he understood what he was here to do. He talked about the right people. And I think Pat was extraordinarily relaxed. And again, I keep saying this, Alejandro. Pat Riley could go to Malibu right now. Okay. He can get on a plane with Chris
he's
Riley
here working.
and fly to France. There's something else. Because there's no reason for him to stay here. It's not like he doesn't trust the people that are there. I mean, he's got his front office is all people he trusts. Mm-hmm. So if he has not left yet, there's a reason he has not left. And whether it's Bradley Beal now, or maybe Blake Griffin, I prefer Beal, or maybe it's 2021 and they think maybe Giannis, if he doesn't win a championship, would want to come down from Milwaukee. I think there's something else here that's got to be in the works because Pat doesn't need this anymore. And, I killed Pat for what he did in 16, 17, for not sitting down with Dwayne, for giving those contracts that he gave. But I think he's had a pretty damn good recovery this offseason.
So you forgive him now?
All is forgiven. All right. We've had our battles through the years, Al.
I know.
They wouldn't win the 2006 championship, and he went after me. We've had our battles.
Yes. Please remind people here watching this, how do they get to participate in trying to win a Jimmy Butler's T-shirt, please?
All right, so it's not just a T-shirt; it's a
jersey.
It's a jersey. T-shirt. Yes. The T-shirt they can buy on our site for $21.55.
That's true.
Cinco get some of the profits of that. No, it's a jersey. Now, are you gonna give me a second though to look up the code?
It's all right. You take your second.
All right, hold on. I'll take my second. Put me backstage. Hold on.
Okay, I'm gonna put you backstage. Remove you from here.
Okay.
And then I'm here. Right. I am talking about Jimmy Butler's.
Can you hear me?
You got it.
I got it.
You got it. Okay. Okay. Bring it. Hello? We lost Ethan. Ethan, are you there? There you go. Ethan, can't hear you now. No, trying to get back to it. I can't hear really what Ethan's saying. Let me put him back. No, I can't hear you right now. All right, so what you guys have to do, give me a second. I'm going to look it up here because I can't hear what Ethan's saying right now. So you have minimum 100 entrants required for a jersey giveaway. You have to be 18 years old or older to participate. You have to text a contest to the number 89800 for a chance to win a brand new Jimmy Butler jersey, size and color of your choice to be considered for the draw. All entries must be received from the time 305 Lives goes live until 12 p.m. Eastern Time on Saturday, September 28th. That's tomorrow. And a draw will take place tomorrow as well. The winner will be notified by text message. You can visit www.onecalllegal.com and you can call in 305-444-1565. So you have to text contest to 89800 for your chance to win a brand new Jimmy Butler jersey. I can't hear Ethan, so I guess I'm going to say goodbye. Ethan can hear me, but I can hear him. So goodbye, guys. Thanks for joining us. We're going to post this on YouTube so you guys can enjoy it later. For some of the comments that I read here on Twitter that they wanted it on a podcast, we have our own YouTube channel, so you can go there and check out all our 305 Lives. So see you later. And we'll be talking a lot of Miami Heat basketball. Ethan's going to be there at West Palm at the Miami Heat camp. So check it out at Ethan J. Skolnick on Twitter.